Olá, sou o Diogo Pinto, especialista em programas de inovação e expert do AYCH. A questão que vos deixo é: o que é inovação e como se mede?
Eu sou a Vera Araújo, do Desenvolvimento Económico da Câmara de Santo Tirso, e a minha preocupação é como usar a tecnologia para tornar o trabalho mais eficiente.
Eu sou o João Sousa, natural de Santo Tirso, sou fashion designer e desde 2018 que trabalho com o AYCH na incubadora de moda e design da fábrica de Santo Tirso. A minha questão é: o que é uma mentalidade criativa e como é que pode ser definida?
Olá, sou Mário Alves, CEO da Taikai e expert do AYCH Youth Summit. A minha pergunta é: como será o futuro da contratação remota?
Sou a Luísa Marinho, gestora de projetos no Investe Santo Tirso. A minha questão é: o que acontecerá às cidades? Qual será o futuro balanço entre o trabalho nas zonas urbanas e rurais?
Sou Mariana Rodrigues, sou natural de Santo Tirso, sou fashion designer. Participei no programa AYCH na fábrica de Santo Tirso e a minha preocupação é: como asseguramos o direito dos trabalhadores neste novo mundo de trabalho remoto?
Good evening, everyone. Hello. Before I get into introducing this event properly, I would like to ask everyone to use the translation feature on this Zoom call. So at the bottom, you'll find interpretation, hopefully on this Zoom call, and select the language that you speak, and you'll hear everything translated into that language for you. We're joined by 4 wonderful translators: Spanish, French, Portuguese, English. So whatever you speak, we got you covered. So I'd also like to let everyone know that this session is being recorded. So to be really clear for everyone, this Zoom session is being recorded. So if you would not like to be seen or heard, please turn off your camera, mute your microphone, and you will be out of the way. But if you would also like to leave the Zoom call at this point, feel free to do so. Let us know, and we can make the recordings available to you via the AYCH Youth Summit platform website. You can get hold of everything there.
The streets feel alive. We're mixed with life. Goes down, blown down, and life shines back. Going fast, such a blast on a train.
Tonight is the last of 3 round table discussions. These have been collaborations between AYCH partners, and they target specific areas that young people are particularly interested in, and they find it very important to their futures. So all of the speakers that you'll hear this evening are under the age of 30. So we're very proud to say that these events are by young people, for young people, and for a nice creative future. But why are we putting these together? Why? Very, very good question, Callum. This is a week-long youth summit hosted virtually by Brest Metropole, and it's taking place at the very end of the AYCH project, which has been taking place over the last 4 years or so. And it's a big celebration, basically, of young people, of creativity, of projects all across Europe. So our roundtable discussions so far have explored very important themes for creativity over the next decade. So tonight is no different, but on Monday night, we looked at entrepreneurship and sustainability. Tuesday night, we rethought the future of creative education. And tonight, we are going to be looking at the workforce of tomorrow, remote working. But if any of those other events sound great and you missed them, check out aych-2030.eu. We'll post a link into the chat, and you can find recordings of those events to be able to watch them back. Each of these discussions produces 10 propositions. These are 10 suggestions that we as the Atlantic youth think are going to be really important to make that creative future even better. So off the back of each of our 3 events, 10 propositions come together to form 30 in total for the AYCH Agenda 2030. And those 30 propositions will again be available on that website link, and we will be presenting them to the world tomorrow evening, same time, same place. Head on to the Eventbrite to register to come and see that event taking place, where we will share all of those propositions. So yeah, make sure you don't miss that one. So now you know who I am, why we're here, what's going on. Let's get into it. This evening, we are talking about the remote future, and this discussion was organised by representatives from Santa Tirso, based in Portugal, and by Pacific Stream, based in the northwest of the UK. So both organisations work really closely with creative young people and use creative measures to think about the future of arts and society. So don't worry about any complicated words that come up during this session. We will clarify everything as we go, so don't worry at all. If you have any questions though, ping them into the chat and we'll do what we can to get to them during this session. I can see it's already been quite active in the chat. That's wicked. Keep that coming. That's great. I'll keep an eye on it, and yeah, I'll make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. Tonight, we have a panel of 8 speakers. It's the biggest panel of any of our events. So Wednesday night, ripping, doing a good job. Everyone with a green background behind them will be a speaker, but I think it's a good time to introduce the speakers and get a break from my voice. So when I say your name, Mr. and Mrs. Speaker, please give us a wave and introduce yourself. First off, we have Diogo and Sebastião. Diogo, can you go first, my friend?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. Very briefly, Diogo here from Portugal, as Colum already mentioned. What I do for a living, I sell hackathons and open innovation programs for AYCH, and I think my contribution here will be useful in that sense.
Cool. Thank you, Diogo. Sebastião.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, it's amazing to be here with you guys. I'm, as it is written there, Sebastião, from Portugal, and I'm the CEO of a company that has its basis on being a hub for industrial design based on ecological products as well. So I know this is quite confusing, but what we do is sustainable products made with sustainable materials as well. And I'm very glad to be here because we are now in our company in the moment of industrialization. So this is one of the main parts, and I will be very glad to talk with you guys about. Thank you so much.
Nice to have you here. Next, we have Sarah and João, and I will say that João will be speaking in Portuguese. So if anyone hasn't enabled the translation feature, please do. So Sarah, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Actually, I'm managing entrepreneurship programs at Porto Business School. So right now I'm based in Porto, and I also implement events always around entrepreneurship and innovation topics. So it will be a great conversation here today. Thank you.
Brilliant. Nice to have you here, Sarah. João.
Olá, eu sou o João.
Hi, my name is João. I'm 20 years old. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And it's fantastic. I'm a fashion designer and I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you here, João. Next up, we've got Gonzalo and Fernanda. So Gonzalo, please introduce yourself. You know what to do.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Colin. Such a good energy. I'm just loving it, man. So I'm the founder of Remote Europe, Remote Portugal, Future of Work conferences, and almost everything that has a remote in the name. I'm also working with the government of Madeira, island in Portugal. If you never visited, this is the time to schedule your flights. And I basically built the digital nomad village here in Madeira in partnership with the government to allow people, remote workers and digital nomads, to work from this small paradise that you cannot see, but I promise I'll turn my background off just for 30 seconds so you can appreciate a little bit later.
Cool. Nice to have you here, Gonzalo. Just to help our translators out a little bit, don't want to kill your vibe, but if you could slow down a little bit on the talking, it's going to help the translators a lot. Thank you. Fernanda, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm here, Fernanda. My name is Fernanda Bartman and I am a fashion designer. I'm 29 years old and I'm working with us in Santo Tirso since 2019 and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Good to have you here. And there is a little bit of an internet connection problem with the audio for Fernanda. So if I ask you to repeat something, Fernanda, that's why. If it comes to it, I will just ask you just to type into the chat and we'll get your voice heard that way.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So we've had a lot of people talking up to this point, but let's get doing. Let's get some activities underway to get the brain working and start a conversation. So I'm about to share a whiteboard into the Zoom. And what's going to happen on this whiteboard is we're going to play a little game. I'm going to write a word in the middle of this whiteboard. And that word will be something related to something we're going to cover this evening. For example, let's pop in the word. Where's my little demonstration? Let's go with this, innovation. So hopefully everyone can see the word innovation in the middle of that screen now. Nice one. And then what I will ask each of you to do is just to write a related word to that word and connect it via a line. So speakers, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing at the moment. Please jump in. Before I move on with this, stop sharing that whiteboard. Let's pause that a second. I forgot two speakers. I didn't introduce Mario because I was building up to something really big for Mario. It is Mario's birthday today. And I have learnt happy birthday in Portuguese. You'll actually be glad to know that that is a joke. But yes, hello, Mario. Good evening and happy birthday. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Callum. Thank you very much. I guess I'm not a young person anymore, so I'm not below 30. I'm 31. So that's something about myself. Apart from that, and what I do most of my day, I work as a CEO and firefighter at AYCH. So I try to put out all the fires that happen in our company. And what we do is help companies to do hackathons and other innovation programs, as Diogo mentioned. And our vision is to create a place where talent can be working for multiple organizations at the same time, which is why the future of work is so fascinating to me, because it's something that I'm working on and it's something that I have a passion about. So very interested in speaking about it today. Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you, Mario. Sorry for forgetting you. Victor, last but not least, my friend.
Yeah, also I was forgotten. I'm Victor. I'm 27. I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil, but now I'm based in Porto, in Portugal. And I'm graduated an architect, but became a designer, a computational designer at my own studio, Blackout. That is like Portuguese, like Brazilian Portuguese word for blackout. And that's it.
Nice one. Thank you. Right. And that's all 8 of our speakers. There are 8 speakers. That's me reminding myself. But we will take another run at that whiteboard game. So we're going to share the whiteboard again. The rules are simple. All you need to do is write a word that is related to the words on the board and connect them via a line. You can start to add new words onto the board. For example, computer connects to technology, connects to innovation. So we can start stacking these relationships. For you to be able to contribute to the board, you will need to enable annotating. So at the top of your screen, you should be able to enable annotating in edit options. Once it's enabled, you should be able to start pushing some ideas onto that whiteboard. And I'm going to leave it there for about 30 seconds. And I want to see everyone writing as many ideas as they can onto that board. If the annotate function is not working for you, please use the chat, write a word in there that is related to anything that you see on the whiteboard, and one of our producers will add it in. So get that going. This is looking great so far. Seeing some great words appear. Nice. I like to see the word collaboration appearing on the board. I was going to put that on there. And remember, you can do words that relate to other words that are on the board. So they don't have to relate to the word innovation. They could relate to another word on the board. So we're going to create a big web of words. Nice. We'll leave this running for another 20 seconds or so. So if you've got any ideas, pop them down. Amazing. Nice, that's looking really, really good. I am seeing some really good words going on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into one of our speakers and just see if they can give us some feedback on what's going on there. So Victor, I mean, you're the last person I spoke to. So what do you think about the words you're seeing on this board?
Yeah, I have written myself challenge. Because I was seeing all the words that I was agreeing with. I think it's like a very complete approach. I mean, innovation can mean a lot of things. It comes with new ideas, but also with the struggle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Challenge is a good one there. Pablo, I saw you added a few words onto that list as well. Pablo, can you tell us a bit about a couple of ones you put in there?
Yeah, well, hello everyone. Basically, I add I mean, I think that it's important also to think about sustainability when developing new innovation and elements regarding technology and new kind of jobs. And also, I think it's interesting and also important to take into account the importance of having in mind the possibility of having transnational collaboration regarding creating new challenges, new works and new elements.
Brilliant. It sounds like something you thought about before, Pablo. Thanks for your collaboration, everyone that added words onto that board. Thank you very, very much. But it's time to start to talk about some of the big topics. It's why we're here. We're going to kick off by talking about the skills of tomorrow. That is our first theme. And before we set off on our conversational journey, I think we should probably define some things. So we're talking about how we use creativity and innovation to improve the workforce skills and then change the culture of working and our collective future as a result. So Sarah, let's start with you. Sarah, what is innovation and how can you measure it?
I guess I can't say it better than the whiteboard previously, but I can pick up some of the words that were there to describe innovation, and mainly because we're talking also about creativity. And I think I can describe innovation better comparing it with creativity. So creativity is like the ideation stage, when you bring something new to the table, when you conceive a new idea, and then innovation is that implementation stage, is converting that idea into market and put that concept into practice. I loved what Victor said, because innovation comes with a struggle. So you create new ideas with creativity, but regarding innovation, you need a lot more steps to go further. So I think innovation always helps you keep the eye on the horizon and think about the exploration. Where can you be next? So I think maybe that's it. But the whiteboard was amazing, and co-creation and collaboration are keywords related with innovation for sure. Then regarding the measuring innovation, because of it's somewhat uncertain, the nature of innovation, it's tricky to find some metrics and KPIs and whatever everyone talks about in the business world. But there's that sentence that says you can't manage what you can't measure. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I think somehow it's true. So when it comes to innovation, the main thing to measure and to choose the right metrics, I would say each situation is different. So you don't have a general framework and a great solution for everyone. You have to think what is your business about? So what is your strategy? What do you want to deliver? And then find the metrics for that. But it's really important to focus on few metrics, prioritize. I guess that is important when regarding measuring innovation.
All right. Thank you. So it depends on the context. It depends on your intentions. Yeah, brilliant. So João, I've got a question for you, my friend. What is the creative mindset? And do you think that we can even define creativity?
I do believe that it exists. My apologies, because I was listening to the Portuguese version. I do believe that these two concepts can happen at the same time. They almost mean the same, right? In my case, I work in the fashion industry, and for me, creativity has a lot to do with imagination. Every time that I have to start a new collection, for instance, I need to have an inspiration. I need to use my imagination. And also, I have to be aware of the things that have already maybe been used in the past, but I can reshape them and use them in another way. This is for me creation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think what we're talking about here is quite a modern way of looking at things. If we rewind 100 years, maybe people didn't consider creativity in the same way that João has just described it. So I think historically, maybe the corporate world has prioritized outcome over creativity and outcome over worker well-being, especially. So tech innovation and development, that focuses on making something more efficient or more productive. But I think now with what João is saying, we're seeing more advancements that can actually help creativity be improved and help the workers, not just the work, if that makes sense to you. So the people, not the product. But I think we're still quite a long way off achieving a more sustainable work-life balance for a lot of people. So this balancing of output and then sort of your personal creativity, that could be improved by technological innovation, by new technologies. So Diogo, I'm going to go to you on this one. So from your experience of technological development, how can tech make our working lives better, but also improve the product?
Yeah, thank you, Colin, for the question. So I think the last 1.5 years, or at least 1 year, has been I'd say very immersive experience on what technology can do to help us in our work context. Because out of the blue, we were almost all forced to go into our homes and to start working from there. So I think this could be an initial topic to grab on. So I think only with the technology we have available today, we could experience what what was working from home and is being working from home in the last, let's say, months, because we haven't been left with any alternative. So I think this is the first nuance of how technology can help us. Many industries were already using remote work. They were already familiar with remote work. So in that sense, they were already taking the advantages. And I think, as you mentioned in this work-life balance, it is very useful because companies can start working with their workers around the world. So you don't need to be based in any specific city or region to be working with that company. You can be everywhere. And at the same time, the company can work with other companies that are in other regions and locations without the need of being there. So this actually saves a lot of time for the workers that need to do commercial development, on-site development, that would need to go to those places. And in many cases, they were just losing precious time of their life in airplanes and other means of transportation just to be there instead of using remote tools. So I think this was a great boost in order to make this transition, and also in our day-to-day life. So we are no longer commuting so much. So we don't actually need to go to work every day and spend half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours in whatever means of transportation just to reach the office, to grab our laptop, open it there instead of opening it in our living room. And I think that also connects with how fragile the work-life balance has become. So we are no longer in traffic, but we are now in a traffic jam of meetings. So we need to be from one meeting to the other, and kids are just running around for the ones who already have them, and it becomes very strange. So I think this is also a transitional moment where we are taking advantage of the good things, but also sometimes it gets a bit messed up on when we are not still adjusted to this new context. But it's interesting because the other day we were interviewing a person that started working last year. So for him, there isn't any other reality. It just jumped directly into remote work. So that's interesting also perspectives. And I think just to wrap up on this, also technology has been developing lots and lots of tools that help us to work better. So to better organize, to better schedule things, to track things better. So in that sense, at least in my personal opinion, I've been seeing technology as something very good for work. And the last point here, have also handing over to Sebastião, is all the ones that cannot work remotely. So this is very, very interesting conversation, but not everyone works from a computer. We have people that are in industry and that are in spaces that cannot be, or that are performing tasks that cannot be performed from a computer. So in that sense, and for sure, Sebastião will have a more interesting perspective than what I can give because he knows how things go. But technology has also helped and improved industry a lot with robotization, many other things that are happening. But I will hand it over to Sebastião so that he can also give his perspective on how industry is being changed by technology.
So first of all, let me just pick some of the points you've mentioned. And of course, from the point of view of working with other companies or working with other people, we've just been saving a lot of time just by not be traveling to go to a meeting or something like that. So you can be sitting and have like 5 meetings straight and then just save that time. But I'm sorry for this, but I'll be bringing you the bad news about this. Yes, because not all of this new technology is good. Of course, it's awesome for everyone, mainly when concerning services. So when we talk about service and digital service, it's obvious, it's amazing for everyone. And we have been saving time, we've been saving money, but there is two things that for me and for my experience with my coworkers, it's not so good when you talk about creativity. Creativity demands passion. Creativity demands experience. Creativity demands being sharp to all the opportunities that you get in your life and translating all that opportunities that you get in your life to other states of mind and seeing other problems that you are not seeing when you're living and working in one place. I think we are at this time we are stuck with trying to solve problems of the life that we had before, and we are not seeing the problems that we'll have forward. And by those problems, I mean, for example, the industry. Of course, when you talk about digital world, we are talking about service mainly, but what the base of economical system is the industry and other stuff, of course. But the industry has to have people working there, has to have products moving abroad, has to have synergy with people just working, a lot of people working at the same place. And I think we are not, at this time, we are not able to go straight to industry 4.0 because it demands a lot of effort, economical effort, to have a company or a factory that works like that. We started our factory. We opened the factory during COVID, and it's been so demanding. It's been so difficult to have people working for us. It's been so difficult to have people working with us, and it's been so difficult to resolve such small problems as a machine that doesn't work out anymore, because everyone is doing Zoom meetings, and the feeling that I get is that in our new world, everyone is texting, "Oh, I am in a Zoom meeting." So what I think from this point of view is that no one is working right now, everyone is meeting. And of course, communication is obviously one of the most important things about working. There's a lot of end work that has to be done as well. And the industry needs to be one of the main factors. It has to be one, it has to be, we have to think about how the industry is going to be, not only service, but the industry. It's really, really important for us to develop some new systems so we can control it better with technology.
Oh,
and
brilliant.
cheaper as well.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Oh, that's a whole load of stuff, both from Diogo and Sebastião. That is a huge amount of food for thought, and we might come back to a couple of those points a little bit later on. I have got a question from both of you, which will probe down a little bit further in that one. But for now, I'm going to put a poll onto the screen. So building a little bit on what Sebastião was saying, tech is a huge part of our day-to-day life, and it's going to be moving forward, whether we like it or not. But there are aspects of creative and creativity, creative thinking and problem solving that work, and that we seem to be sort of overwriting just because it's getting swept up in this digital advancement. So one example of that is traditional craft skills. So imagine doing things with your hands, creating stuff, a bit like what Sebastião was saying about that primary industry. So let's see what you think about this. How far do you agree, strongly disagree with that statement that we should replace those craft skills with technologically advanced equivalents? How do you feel on that one? We're going to leave that one up for a moment. And in a mo, we'll share those results with the group once we have a good number of results. All right, let's bring the results up. Interesting, there's a real spread. Everyone, someone's voted for each one. Do we have an option? It depends. It depends on the goal. I completely agree. A lot of these polling questions force you to get off that fence. We have to. We can only have 5 answers. They force you. They're a bit mean in that way. But so let's go to Sarah. What do you think about these results?
I was expecting that.
Yeah.
The disagree, but I don't think we should not replace fully, of course. But I think we can use technology to enhance it somehow. It can be complementary, and I think because of the pandemic, we're in this transition, and it's really hard. Like Diogo said, some people are always in Zoom. The traffic jam, the Zoom meetings traffic jam.
Yeah.
I guess that is because of the transition. I want to believe that in the future, we will know how to balance it. And regarding the crafting, the traditional craft skills, of course, they cannot be replaced. I still think that creativity is the key to compete against AI in the future of work.
Mhm.
I know that we have a lot of software that writes songs and poems and stuff, but I still think that creativity is a human trait that no algorithm can replace. But we can use technology to enhance it. We can think like it. This last year, I think there was a revival of the craft skills because of the do-it-yourselves and everything, and that was also because of technology, the online communities, and the digitalization also allows to reach broader communities. And regarding the industry, because what Sebastian said is really, really relevant, the key word is integration. We need to integrate technology in design and making processes. Because if we think technology allows faster routes to market, allows new digital business models, and new opportunities also for learning and exchanging and these online communities. And I like to think that technology will help the craft of the future, and this revival will remain still. We need to integrate, we need to balance it. So of course the disagree won because there were no middle term, I think.
Yeah. Joao, I'd like you to reimagine that question that we just asked, but for collaboration instead. So do you think that it's a bad thing or that it's a good thing that we update our collaborative working processes? Because there's something to be said for meeting in a coffee shop and talking things through.
About collaboration, I believe that since the start of my work, I've been collaborated with lots of people. This is something that I do since the very beginning. I collaborate with people who sew, with people who make shoes, because I don't make shoes. And these kind of things, it's something that I'm very used to. And in the process, I keep learning things. So I completely agree in the statement that collaborations have to be done and that they are key to our work, because one person can't know everything, right? So we need the help of others who know what they do, and you always get something from these collaborations. And by something, I mean learnings. So looking at the future, I think that these kind of collaborations and interactions are going to be more and more important and more frequent, hopefully.
Amazing. Yeah, we all learn something by being with other people. That's hopefully what we're doing here this evening, is we're all learning something by being with other people. Because we could have just pre-recorded a TED Talk style situation, just put it out on YouTube, but that's nowhere near as fun as getting into the discussion and actually being able to ask questions. So I did say to Sebastião earlier on, I've got a question for you. So following on from what you were saying, what does the future look like to you? I know it's quite hard to predict things, but what would you like the future of your industry to look like?
Actually, that's a really good question. So Um, I think that we have an easy life on the part of communication and on the part of, for example, getting your products abroad or internationalization, something like that. Because so if we said that previously, we had 50% of our time dedicated to communication and internationalization and etc. Then we had 50% for industry. I think what is happening now is that it's still going to be balanced, but I think we'll have that the most difficult part will be definitely the work part of the industry. And for me, what I'm most concerned about is that we are losing knowledge, and we are losing the knowledge of doing things. We are going to the knowledge of digital world, and that's amazing. But the knowledge of all that old people had, like the craft, the handcraft stuff that they know how to do, that's for example, that's one of the most important things concerning shoes enterprise here in Portugal. People know how to do things by hand, and going with this kind of industry will be losing that knowledge, because that people that are that don't communicate with us in this kind of language, they won't be able to translate their knowledge into something that we can use in the future. And that for me is something that I am concerned. For example, I use a press machine that has something more than 400 tons of power. And of course, I don't know how to use that machine. And the person that knows how to work with that machine, because the machine has more than 70 years, is an old man that goes there and knows how to work with that machine. But if we don't translate this kind of content, this kind of knowledge into something that we can use in the digital world, we'll be losing that. And I think that's one of the most important things that as a human being, we have in all our history is how to translate the history that happens into something that we can use in the present and something that will be used in the future. So communication is the key, but we have to get all that communication and going to translate all that power that people add and all that knowledge that people add and translate them into something that we can use and something that we can catalog. I think that's really important for our future in the industrial part.
Yeah, brilliant.
I don't know
Wow.
if this is answered.
Well, it's all about the discussion, isn't it? You have answered the question. Thank you. And because I've got a short amount of time left, Diogo, you've got 45 seconds to answer the same question. What would you like the future of your industry to look like? Maybe just give one or two impressions.
No, I think my point will be very straight in the time I have. So I think linking with what Sebastian just mentioned, the question is skilling and reskilling. So more and more we are entering into a moment where actually technology is replacing tasks that a human being there doing it doesn't add that much value to the task. So for us to be in a, let's say, a kind of a production line just assembling one bolt, a human or a robot can do it because the human is not adding any value there. So what I think will happen is we will be seeing in the future, not now, I think we are in the transition, the human skills being actually valued. So this creativity that Sebastian mentioned. So all these skills are the important ones that come from a human being. The robot will never have them. And those are the ones that are important. At the same time, it is very important the question of the skills. So we are years behind the saying of, if you have a degree, you are fine. That was almost a century ago, let's say, between commas. So the question now is more about how do I reskill and how do I reskill myself every day, not once in my life and then it's fine for the entire time. So I think the point here is skills and reskilling so that we as humans can do the hard tasks and the creative ones, and let's keep the simple ones for the robots because they can do them better than us.
The learning never stops. Yeah, you don't get your degree and then that's it. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your thoughts and feelings on theme 1. We're going to have a little activity, a little break to shake things up. So if you've been to one of these sessions before, if you were here on Monday or Tuesday, you might know what's coming. So everyone, look around the room you're in. Just look around it. If it's anything like the room that I'm in right now, it's full of stuff. There's stuff everywhere. Some of it's useful, some of it's useless. But I'm going to give you 90 seconds. You can have just 90 seconds to stand up and get 2 items and bring them back. One of those items has to be something that you cannot do your job without that item. So it's essential for you to do your job. And I'm going to make it a little bit hard for you by saying you can't pick your mobile phone or your computer. Something that is essential for you to do your job. And then the other thing is something that might improve your productivity. So something that makes you be more productive when you do work. So to clarify, one thing that you absolutely need to work and one thing that makes you more productive. So we're going to put a poll on the screen asking you a question about those 2 things. That question is going to be, which thing means more to you personally on the inside? And we're going to leave this poll up for 3 minutes. So you've got about 4 minutes or so to get your things and then to answer that question. You've also got that time to get up, grab a glass of water, do a quick yoga routine, quick flow, and we'll come back in about 4 minutes time. All righty, so take 4 minutes, grab some stuff, answer that poll. And let's share some results. Let's pop that poll back up on the screen and share that result and see what you got. So most people have more of a personal attachment to the thing that produces their productivity. We've got 15 psychopaths in the room that have no personal attachment to anything. Oh, sorry, that's either thing. And then 35% of people like the thing that they need to do their job. And I'm thinking maybe this relates to how much you actually like your job. Because if you really enjoy working, then the thing that you absolutely need to do your job is going to keep you happy day to day. So maybe you can have a positive positive attachment to it. So I'm going to ask each of you to hold your thing up to the camera, both things to the camera. All right. I'm going to look around the room. We're going to dip into the audience. Here. What have we got? I'm going to jump onto my second screen. Dan Barton, you got a banana there. Can you talk us through what that banana's about?
Yeah, that's to improve my productivity.
Okay.
I'm more attached to the banana. My other one is a coin, because I kind of need money to do my job, really. So I need funding from somewhere, really, in order to do my work.
So that's
I'm not really so attached to that as I am to food.
It's 5 representative pennies. They're not really 5p. Cool. And right next to you on my screen, I've got Valeria, who's got 2 pens.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
It's actually a pencil, normal pencil. And this is my absolute need for my job. While on the other hand, I have digital pen. It's improving my productivity.
Okay, cool. I'm guessing you're some sort of illustrator and designer.
Well, I am a designer, yes, a fashion designer. So pencils are absolutely needed, but working with a digital source, for example, a tablet, actually improves my productivity so much because I can work on the tablet and on the computer almost at the same time.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd be surprised if you were like a forklift driver or something with a digital pen. I'm gonna jump to one more. So hold some stuff up again. I'm seeing a double coffee pot from Gwinnell and another beautiful cat photo from. Talk us through double coffee pot. What's that about?
Yeah, well, my blood is basically coffee. So I need coffee to do my job and I need coffee to improve my productivity. Coffee is basically all my productivity and my creativity.
It's your life force. Without coffee, you just stop working. Amazing. All right. Well, thanks very much for jumping in on that activity. That was really good. I think it's really good to start thinking about the relationship that you have with your personal relationship that you have with your job. So maybe moving forward from today, you start thinking about what really means something to you when you're working. But we're going to jump into the second theme of this evening. And this second theme is the remote future. So Gonzalo, before we get into any big discussions on remote work, and there are big discussions to be had, can you define what we mean by working remotely?
Working from anywhere. If you have a laptop, you don't need to be stuck at home. That's why I was like disagreeing a little bit with Sebastian. It's just if you have a laptop, you can work from anywhere. And if you can work from anywhere, you can work from beautiful places. And if you can work from beautiful places, you can work from a place like this, a green place that inspires you, which is much better than being stuck inside without any inspiration.
I just had a thought there that you had just changed your virtual background to that you're actually just inside in a small white room, but it's just another picture. I'm joking, of course. So yeah, working remotely does seem to be a desirable way of working, and I think it has been for a lot of people for a very long time. But this COVID-19 pandemic has pushed a lot of people into remote work that previously had to go to a place of work, that previously had to commute. So we could have been in a physical space right now. We could be in an exhibition center in Brest, having a wonderful time, having this conversation face to face, but we're doing it digitally. And that's not a bad thing. It means we can still work. But Mario, let's go to you, my friend. Now that this remote form of working is more standardized, how do you think that hiring is going to change for employers and potential employees?
Yeah, I think that it is already changing. So the gig economy is evolving the form of work that we have now. And on that topic, I think it will still evolve, not just for what we see as delivery drivers, freelancers. So we believe that that model will eventually evolve in the future. And also, I would say that it will mean that there will be more validation on the skill side and on the talent side versus validation on geography that the person is in, all of that. So I'm thinking that that's where we are headed, and I would say that on my side and on AYCH, what we are trying to build is that.
Mario, we're having a bit of a tech issue with you, Mario, I'm afraid. So I'm going to pause you there for a moment.
The dream and the exam.
And I'll pass to Victor and just hope that your internet stabilizes for in a moment. So Victor, what are your feelings on that topic?
Yeah, I think I was about to say another thing, but I guess we had a bit of example right now, because when you're hiring workers like from all around the world, you have also to provide them with the tools. So everybody has a notebook, okay, but what is it, the internet connection that the person has, or what are the tools needed to get the work done? And I think that hiring remotely also it's based on the skill of the person. And I think it will be able to minimize some of the toxic environments that some companies can have, because when you have like Zoom meetings with a lot of people, then you are exposing a part of your own room, your own house. And I think that's a different approach from like a group thinking of, and also like some deeper and harder topics like racism and homophobic behaviors or misogyny in the work environment. I think that's something that remotely we can get a different approach, and we can build a better work relationship from that. Also, new issues can emerge, but I think that's a great point to have another perspective on the work relationships.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm starting to see sort of mediated discussions between all members of staff, and yeah, I'm getting away from that sort of Don Draper Mad Men sort of misogynist. We've all seen Wolf of Wall Street, or maybe you haven't, but it doesn't paint sort of particularly investment bankers in a great light. Let's put it that way. So I can see that the chat in the first half was very active, people asking questions and comments. And what I'll say for this second half is, if you've got a question, you're thinking of a question, put it into the chat and one of our speakers will answer it. If you see a question in the chat and you're going to answer it, feel free to do so. So with remote work, as Gonzalo said, you could theoretically be anywhere in the world. And that means commuting is completely irrelevant potentially. And I'm quite happy with that, because where I am currently in the UK, it's a 8.5 hour, 212 mile drive and ferry between Devon and Brest. So I'm glad that I don't have to commute to be able to do my job right now. But that does mean that where people are is going to change. So how are cities going to be affected? So Gonzalo, how do you think that cities and the rural-urban balance is going to change?
I think the era of big cities that centralize all the jobs are over, and they will never be back again. Sorry.
Never.
Sorry, Silicon Valley. You did a good job. It was fun. Now the innovation happens online. People were in Silicon Valley because they had access to funding, but the latest hyper-growth startup is actually fully remote, which is Hopin. So the money is not in one place. The jobs are not in the cities. I know thousands of people who move to the cities to get a job. Well, now you can stay in your village and get a job for Facebook or any IT company. You don't need to move to the US. So even people that have really high skills in places like Iran, in places like Egypt, now have a chance to work for the best companies, meaning they can stay in Egypt, they can contribute to the local economy, and they don't need to get visas and move to a big city to get a job. This basically means that the villages are the new hotspots, and how fun it is. We'll be back to communities. We will actually know the people who live next door, something that doesn't happen in the cities. We will actually create deeper relationships with the people around us, which is what's happening here in Madeira with this small experience we are doing. So everything will change. I think we'll see a huge decentralization of information of people from big cities to villages and smaller cities. There are smaller cities that are very interesting all around the world. And I think it will be very, very fun to see what will the big industry of offices will actually do with their offices, if they will just transform like it's happening in habitation, in accommodation, or if they will try to do something else. But I think the cities will be the place for culture. I think culture will still be in the cities. And to be honest, tourism, I don't like the second. I like the first one. I'm not a big fan of the second, but we see already big cities being completely transformed with mass tourism like Barcelona and my city, Lisbon. So I think, unfortunately, part of the future of big cities will be left a little bit for these two systems.
Amazing. I love the idea of culture and arts and creativity replacing big business. What's the equivalent of having a high-rise building full of musicians? I don't know what the equivalent of that would be, but that would be cool. I want to see it. Fernanda, do you agree with what Gonzalo is saying? Any issues maybe?
Yes, agree with Gonzalo. I think now maybe people that are in the village can now be seen that maybe before they didn't have an opportunity to be in big cities in the center of everything. Now they have the opportunity to pass through barriers to limits and go anywhere in the world. But now talking about my work, that is crafts and work with fashion, and we need to be sometimes in the atelier or in studio, or sometimes now the remote work is kind of tricky because I think I'm grateful because I have my studio at home, but not everyone has this opportunity. So it's kind of tricky now with remote work, fashion, and sewing, producing things, garments. It's kind of people who work alone. It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that ties into what we were saying earlier on with modes of collaboration changing. And if your studio is a nice creative melting pot and you've got resources, you've got people, you can create together. If that's then decentralized, you might lose that a little bit.
Yeah.
So historically, where we live, the country that we live in is responsible for our workers' rights and keeping us all kind of safe and sound in the workplace. But if you can live anywhere in the world, who then regulates those systems? So Victor, I feel like you're a good person to talk to about this. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that's a hard one because like the innovation or the needs that you have to solve, they come first. Like when we had like streaming, music streaming, or when people were moving to Instagram, they are always like messing with laws that are not like with Uber and things like that. You have to, all the paperwork comes after, so the regulations comes after. And yeah, that's a good question because I just started a new project and I'm working in Brazil. So I got out of Brazil, came to Portugal, and now I'm working remotely with a team in Brazil. So it's kind of hard because you have to get you have to know the laws of each country, and it is a hard thing to do because I have only one partner to do this project, and now we are working on this network of professionals that we have to solve, like with lawyers and with financial problems. So we were used to working like alone, just the two of us, and it was hard. And now we are learning to share the duties of the work. So we are just collaborating more, and yeah, it has been a great outcome. But on how to get how to ensure workers' rights, I mean, that's for the companies have to listen to their workers and know where they come from. So who you're dealing with, is the person a designer? Okay, but where does the person come from? Does this person have like a notebook or everything that you must need to work, because you're not going to a workplace anymore. You're not counting on the machines and the tools that the company provides. So yeah, we just have to work on that.
Absolutely. And it's quite, is that what irony is, when you emigrate from your country and then end up working back there again? That must be quite nice, for you, though, to still have a connection back there. So the impacts of working remotely might vary person to person and between industries. So an artist's creativity might be affected differently than, I don't know, an architect, or a journalist versus a YouTuber might react differently to remote working and to digital modes of modes of interaction. So it is time for another poll. I'm going to put another poll on your screen. What do we think? Is virtual interaction good for your creative soul? Yes or no? And Gonzalo is going to have another issue with it depends. But these polls are hard. They get you off the fence and they force you to think about something. We'll get into the discussions afterwards. Whilst we're answering those questions, I would say that we've had loads of really good questions in the chat, but I can see that the time is running a little bit short. So I would ask all of the specialists, maybe from theme 1 and from theme 2, if you see a question in the chat that you like the look of, feel free to type up an answer. I know that Mario and Fernanda, your connections are a little bit dodgy, so it's quite hard to speak to you verbally. So maybe if you typed an answer, that would be a really good way to kind of hear your thoughts on those matters. That would be really good. So let's share the answers to that poll. Oh, it's tight. It's pretty close. Well, it depends. Of course it depends. Mario, what do you think?
Well, I hope that the internet connection doesn't fail now. It's not very good for a remote event, and talking about remote working, have a crappy internet connection. But nonetheless, I would say that it depends. So picking on Gonzalo's key point from the previous poll, it obviously depends. So on my case, and personally, I like to have people around me when I'm doing brainstorming or some session that involves creativity. But you can use technology for it, and you can use virtual interaction for it as well. But when I need to concentrate and to be working on a task alone, actually being remote is something that helps. So it's something that I find very valuable because I'm in my space and I listen to my music and I can concentrate and be creative as well. So giving a direct answer, it obviously depends on what you're used to do, but also, and the key point here is on what you should adapt to do. So everybody needs to adapt to this virtual interaction because the pandemic so forced us to do it. But also this could be something that could remain in the future. So adapting is always the best way to mentor.
Absolutely. I think you've given a really detailed answer there, and that's brilliant. So I'm not going to ask anyone in my last question to make any predictions about the future because no, well, I don't know, maybe you are gambling people, but I don't think it's good to promote it. So I'm going to throw to Gonzalo for this one first. What do you think about the unknown technologies that are coming thick and fast, and how can we prepare for those?
Okay, let's start with how we do calls. Zoom meetings will be over in a couple of years because VR and AR are taking over. So what we do calls is try to replace the human interaction, which doesn't work with the monitor. But it can be quite fun with VR if you tried it. And we've seen Facebook taping into this and trying to create something nice. So I think the technology will change a lot. We will try to replace the human interaction we had on Office, and it will be better instead. And just taking, for example, in the creativity example that was given before, I have an issue with technology, which is I have my best ideas on the shower, and it looks it's very bad for brainstorming to take all the team to the shower. And so I think that we should do more asynchronous brainstorming. So instead of forcing people to have ideas in 1 hour, let's do it over 24 hours and allow people to be creative on the shower or on the ocean or walking in the nature, and then let's all connect. Also, the way we did brainstorming with no technology before was very dangerous for the people that are more introverted but have good ideas, because they will never speak up. And now they can share and have even more value than they had before when there was no technology. So I think technology is here to help. We should use it in a way that doesn't replace what happened in the office, but make it better. We should use this opportunity to not try to replace all our interactions in the office with Zoom calls, but instead to embrace asynchronous communication with new technology like Twist, like Slack. That's what we should do. And of course, technology will change everything and how we work in the next 5 years, but VR is by far the fastest growing technology I see coming into remote work as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah. I love the idea of shower thoughts, nature thoughts. I think I read somewhere that the optimum thinking speed for the brain is when you're moving at about 3 miles an hour, which is at about walking pace.
Yes, and slowly, and noticing what's around you, which is very different from just walking to your job.
Yeah, exactly. Fernanda, I'm interested, the same question for you. How do you think we can prepare for the future of technology coming into our working practice?
I think now we are having a great opportunity to be forced to work with technology. Now we are kind of in this limbo to like combine our practical work with technology. So it's going to, little by little, we are introducing it in our lives. And I think in the future, it is going to be very, very strong, like almost 100% technology work, working through technology. And we will need to adapt it. It's good and sad in a special view because of the practical skills that we were talking before. I think we should not lose it, and we need to adapt, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, adaptation is key. And Mario, have you got any thoughts on how?
Yeah, so on my side, I truly believe that, of course, we cannot predict the future, but we can start creating our own. So that's the key message that I believe that should be driven from all of this conversation. I think that, not trying to promote anything here, but I think that Gonçalo is doing a fantastic job at Madeira Island. And that's something that doesn't come with legislation or government support. It's something that you yourself and your community has to create. And I believe that legislation and support will follow once you start giving the first steps. So kudos, Gonçalo, for that, because I believe that's taking the first step into the future of what we want work to be.
Thank you.
It's nice to see some love flying around. A lot of love for Gonçalo in the chat as well. People really resonating with what you've got to say. So Victor, I'm going to throw to you as well. What do you think about the future? What can we do to prepare for the future?
Yeah, I mean, we have to look back on what was being made, or how we were looking at the work environment and the working hours, because also when people work from home, like you can have different shifts, so you don't have to make like one straight 9 to 5 shift to get the better outcome. Maybe you can work on sprints of 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe blocks. I think that is the future, where we are trying to design this working experience as a team, or as a different remote teams for the same company.
Yeah, absolutely. But on that point, it's quite hard then to know when to stop your shift. If you're working at home, I don't know if anyone else has found this, you get to 5 p.m. and you think, well, the working day's done, but I could just carry on working. It's hard to know when to stop. Yeah. So I think what João has said in the chat there, it's important to separate the workplace from the leisure location. If you're working remotely, where you live is where you work, or usually is. So Gonzalo, what do you think on that one? Like, have you got any tips for anyone working from home about how they can better structure that relationship?
As I said on the chat, I hate to work from home. That's just, let's be clear. Even if I'm one of the biggest promoters of remote work, I hate to work from home. I'm an extrovert, and I built a whole co-working space in Madeira to make sure that people don't work from home. Taking that into account, some people can't work from anywhere else right now. So what worked for me when I was desperate in the first lockdown was actually setting exercise hours by the end of my work time. So by 6, I always had something, or a call with friends, or exercise time, or anything else I really needed to do then, because it's a hard stop. In the normal world, just scheduling an appointment with the gym, a coffee or a beer with your friends would work really well. But if you are in lockdown, like many people right now, try to have those hard stops. Try to call your family at 6 or at 5 or whenever you should stop working, and make sure there is a hard stop that makes you at least put the computer down and do something else, to makes you stop thinking about work and actually do something else.
Is there something that maybe institutionally we could do? Because that's a really good tip for an individual, but if someone really has something that they really need to do for work by a certain time, or maybe they don't have those relationships to be able to fall back on, is there a system that we could put in place?
Lead by example is the best system, meaning if your boss sends you an email at 10 in the evening, there is a high chance that you will try to answer him, because if he's working, you should be working. There should be the right to disconnect that I think France was implementing, or is implementing, is one thing that we need to implement for everyone else, and that we in Portugal and at the legislation level are looking at. Those two together, leading by example, making sure that the communication is asynchronous, so people don't need to be working more time because they are trying to rise to the expectations, is very important. You should not be measured by how many hours you worked, and we are transitioning to that slowly. You should be measured by what is your product of your work. It doesn't matter if you work 5 hours. I think you should work 4 hours or 5 hours a day, because the 8 hours a day is an invention that was made for the industry, and most of us don't work in the industry anymore. So why are we still sitting 8 hours a day in front of our computers? So all that, just making sure you are productive, more asynchronous. And if you are a company, or if you manage a company, making sure that asynchronous communication is the norm inside the company, and that you have strong rules against people being online after whatever is the end time of your shift.
That sounds a really good idea, and I think we can all go away and lead by example after this conversation, because I know that I am definitely guilty of sending emails at 10 p.m. and there are people in this Zoom call that will have received them, and I am sorry. Gonzalo has changed my life. I'll stop doing it now, I promise. We've run out of time to be able to answer any more of those questions. So Fernanda, if you do have any more of those tips, just type them up quickly into the chat, and hopefully some people can get the best of them before we move on. But thank you so much to all of the speakers that have joined us this evening, to Sarah and Joao. Joao had to leave, but thank you, Joao. To Diogo, Sebastião, to Mario, Victor, Gonzalez, Fernanda, thank you so much for your time, for your input, for your expertise. It has been amazing to hear everything you have to say. What a wonderful, inspiring bunch of people you all are. But you, as the audience, you lucky lot, your time with our speakers is done, because our speakers will now come together in a separate video call where we will discuss our propositions to be added to the Agenda 2030, that series of propositions that we think would lead to a better, brighter, more creative European future. So you'll have to say goodbye to them, I'm afraid. If you would like to relive this experience, if you want to go back and watch the events from Monday and from Tuesday night on AYCH.2030.eu, someone please put a link in the chat. There'll be a link to that website in the chat. There you can find all of the resources for the remaining events of the Youth Summit for for the previous events of the Youth Summit, for a wonderful virtual exhibition, which is huge. If you've got an afternoon spare, please head on in and check out the work of our young people in that environment. It'd be really, really great. What is in there? There's videos, audio, 3D models, tons of interactive stuff. So drop in with some friends and explore. It's going to be a good time had by all. But finally, thank you everyone on this call. Thank you so much for joining in. Everyone who contributed to the polling, everyone who I cruelly picked on in the items chat. Thank you to Dan and his productive banana, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night.